There is nothing new. All things are both familiar and short-lived. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius Antoninus wrote more than 1800 years ago in the text that we tend to title the Meditations. I know what you're thinking. Well, that dude didn't live to see 2020. We're in the midst of a deadly pandemic. This wouldn't have been at all familiar to him. Actually, a deadly pandemic would have been all too familiar to Marcus Aurelius, and familial as well. He lived through a pandemic that lasted for 15 years, one that killed an estimated 5 million people, including his adoptive brother and co-emperor Lucius Verus. In fact, that pandemic was so closely associated with his family's rule of the Roman Empire that it was named the Antonine Plague after them. And that is, honestly, why we're reading the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius in Masterpieces of World Literature this semester. This is a book that I've read more than once, but I've never taught. But earlier this year, I read an article by psychotherapist Donald Robertson titled Stoicism in a Time of Pandemic, How Marcus Aurelius Can Help. In it, Robertson argues that it's no stretch of the imagination to view the Meditations as a manual for developing precisely the mental resilience skills required to cope with a pandemic. That motivated me to read the Meditations for the second time, and the third time, and my wife to read them for the first time. Of course, results may vary, but we have found that Marcus Aurelius can indeed help us. You see, Marcus Aurelius created this collection of short texts, traditionally divided into 12 books, to provide psychological supports for himself during his own turbulent times, as well as psychological rules to help him live a life of virtue. As such, the Meditations is an earnest attempt to answer one of what I characterize as the most common questions asked by all people all around the world at the start of the semester. How can we lead lives of virtue, balancing our desires as individuals with the needs of our communities? For Marcus Aurelius, struggling to lead his people through one pandemic and more than one war, that balance was perhaps even more difficult to maintain than it is for us. But he believed that humans exist for the sake of one another. In other words, we're here to help one another through turbulent times, and, in English 248A, through challenging texts. With that in mind, the assignments for our module on the Meditations call for more conversation and more collaboration than in our earlier ones. We'll even work together to create our quiz. I hope that, as a result, your reading of the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius will prove helpful as we live through these turbulent times.